facing Eric Cantor in November.
With a little bit of luck, we will do that.
Well, you got St. Patrick's Day coming up, so what the heck?
Which is my son's birthday, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? What a wonderful...
So it'll be a lucky day for us.
That's a wonderful...
Yeah. So,
okay,
a little bit about my background. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I live in Lake of the Woods, which is just not too far from here.
Right.
We're in Culpeper, by the way.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
And I grew up in Arlington, and after high school, I went to Virginia Tech. And after I graduated from Virginia Tech, I get this wonderful letter from the Department of Defense. It said, "Greetings." So I ran down to the Air Force. I ran down to the Air Force recruiter, and I became a navigator on the B-52. And then after 2 years doing that, I went back to pilot school, and I flew 100 combat missions into North Vietnam as a combat pilot in the RF-4C Tactical Reconnaissance Aircraft.
And thank you for your service.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, yes. And one of the things that I adopted as a philosophy in the Air Force is that they were always shooting at the other guy, never at me. So that's why we're here today. But after Vietnam, I became the aide to the commander of the Pacific Air Forces. And one of the interesting things that happened is we got a call one day, and it was from the Pentagon, and 6 hours later we're on an airplane going to the Philippines. And the very next day, my boss, the four-star general, General Wilson, myself, President Marcos and his aide, we were all sitting around a table very much like what we're doing right here. And General Wilson said to President Marcos, "I'm sorry, sir, but our government, can no longer support you." And Mr. Marcos was very polite, and we exchanged courtesies, and then we went back to Hawaii, and very soon thereafter, President Marcos came to Hawaii. And my involvement was there as the aide, and of course I had some responsibilities that we carried on at the time too. So it was a lot of fun. And I was, at the time, I was a captain in the Air Force. And here I am talking to the president of another country, having a good time, just like we're having here. So that was one of the experiences. After the Pacific, I went to the Pentagon. I worked in Air Force plans, and we were in charge of putting the AWACS airplane, you know, it's that 707 airplane with a funny antenna on top.
Right.
And we put that all over the world. We would base that all over the world depending upon the need in the country for where the force development is what we called it. Then I went down to the Office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I had the opportunity to work in the National Military Command Center. Now, while I was there, of course, we only had one boss at the Pentagon, and that was Mr. Weinberger, who was then Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
And he was the commander. We called him the boss. And, of course, he reported to the president. And we were on a team. And that team consisted of the Secretary of Defense, every 4, 3, 2, one-star general in the Pentagon. This is where they came. And I was fortunate enough to be involved in this operation, this group. And one day about 2 a.m. in the morning, I got this call saying, the Israelis have just taken out the Iraqi nuclear power plant. And so we rushed together a briefing, and we got it all ready for the 8 o'clock morning briefing. And 5 days later, the map that we had drawn showed up on the cover of Newsweek magazine. And I opened up the page, and I looked in there, and I said, and they took our briefing too. So that's some of the things that we did.
So kind of this being around, having experience with a lot of, power players, kind of maybe gives you that sort of sign that says, hey, maybe I want to be out there making a difference. This is pretty powerful stuff.
Well, that's one of the reasons I ran for Congress, because I know I can make a difference. And when you're on a team, you really don't think about who is the player, who are the players, because we all had one mission to do, and we did it. And we were there to support the Secretary of Defense. As a congressperson, you have 435 other people that you have to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
And, one of my passions is education. And we have got to get this student loan debt down. So it's $1 trillion. It's crushing the backs of our students. So what I would like to do, and we have walked the halls of the Pentagon and gone into different offices, talked about how can we eliminate this debt. And we've come up with some plans that we think are good. But when I graduated from Virginia Tech, I thought education was for the common good. And now it seems to me like education is all about the bottom line profit for the institutions. And the education costs are going up so much faster than the inflation costs. So we have to give relief to our students, even both in college and in the technical training fields. It's so important.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I had a thought, but...
No.
So education is a big part of your platform.
Well, jobs.
Jobs.
Yeah, that's the main thing that we have to concentrate on. And to do that, I support the President's jobs bill. You know, we have a transportation bill that's being signed right now,
Absolutely.
Which is very encouraging.
Right.
But we have a Democratic president, Democratic Senate, and it seems to me like the House is just being obstructionism. They're just a bunch of obstructionists. So, and it points to the leadership. And you know my opponent is a very powerful leader in the Republican Party. And even when I walk the halls of the Capitol Hill, I hear criticisms from their side of the aisle about their leadership. So something is definitely wrong. And it's time that we as a nation work together. It's time that Congress people work together. None of this them and us routine. We have to work as a team to make this country a better place.
You know, I think another one of the key priorities on your platform also is the Social Security and the whole Medicaid situation as well.
Well, I'm a recipient of both of these programs. Social Security is really an easy fix. When the Greenspan Commission in 1983 looked at this, they never dreamed that the income disparity would be so great. The top 1% controls more wealth than the rest of the 150 million of us. So they didn't account for that. So if we would take the base of the Social Security, and if we would take that upper tax bracket from 106,000, take it up to 180,000, then Social Security is fixed. Now it's good for the next 27 years, but that would take it out forever. That's one of the things we can do to solve Social Security. Now, I believe that every American, it's a civil right to have proper medical attention. And we don't have that in America today. We need to improve our medical system. Medicare operates at a 3% margin. In the private sector, these insurance companies, sometimes their operating expenses are 35 to 40 cents out of every dollar.
Right.
And the people are not getting the health care that they deserve.
Right.
So that's
And
one
when the government starts to tamper or mess with funds that are associated with Medicare and whatnot, that affects, like I know here locally, for instance, Culpeper Regional Hospital, I believe that 35 to 40% of the patients are coming in there are getting funds from Medicare. So it has
Medicare
an impact.
and Medicaid are both
Medicare and Medicaid.
are both so important. And I just can't imagine that we have so many people in this country that are denied adequate medical care. It's not right. And
Particularly since we're living longer.
yes.
That's true.
That's true.
I just think it's a crime sometimes, but we can make it better, and we will make it better. I mean, this country we have the best people in the whole world, and we can do it, and we can do it better.
You know, Culpeper, of course, well, everybody has really suffered the last couple of years from this economy. Culpeper's had a very high foreclosure rate, as well as other counties in the Piedmont. What about the whole housing thing and banks with their monies to fund for mortgages and things?
When I got out of the Air Force, I got into the real estate business, and I've been a real estate broker, a real estate home builder, and for the last 12 years of my career, I was a real estate appraiser. And I have seen the very best of the real estate market. And I have lived the very worst of the real estate nightmare. And the mortgage, upside down mortgages, my philosophy towards the banks are, we bailed out the banks. The American public did that. Now it's the bank's turn to take care of these upside down mortgages that we have. We have to level the playing field. We have to bring fairness back into this country because we're becoming an oligarchy. The top 1% owns so much of our wealth. It's not right.